Well, hi.
Yay!
How are you?
I'm good.
I'm so excited.
I'm so Yeah, me too.
I
I
decided
am
to bring
too.
it outside. Bring it outside, get some light, get some air. I wanted to get some sunlight. So this is good. This is good. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you guys for all the happy birthday wishes. I just told them that my birthday is tomorrow, so my side's telling me happy birthday.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. So today, you guys, what Marisha and I wanted to do is come on here, especially every Tuesday around the same time. This is Marisha. Marisha, if you could introduce yourself for those who are on here, I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, hi guys. I am a practitioner in human design. I've been doing this a few years now, and I met Brandi through TikTok, and so we've been discussing human design to the point where we're like, let's collab. So now that's what we're doing. We're going to discuss kind of like how this system has transformed our lives. So anyone in my live right now popping in, if you're interested in staying tuned to this, that's what we're going to be talking about is just human design, how it's transformed us, what it's going to be doing for just everything, I guess.
Yeah, no, because I think it's really exciting to display or to talk about kind of maybe even your life like before human design, and then how you interact with your life now knowing human design, which I think is really interesting to hear people's transformation, how their energy changes, how their energy heals through this modality. So I'm really excited to dive into that today.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, Marisha, if you could, I'm really curious if you could kind of paint a picture of how human design has transformed your life ever since you found it.
Yeah, and I knew this was going to probably be the first question you would ask. And so I was thinking, like, how could I answer? What's the biggest thing for me? And I feel like relationships was the biggest thing for me when it came to learning about this system, guys, because when you find out that you're a different type than your partner, or your child, it is a game changer. And that's what it was for me. Was I was sensing all of the things that human design told me about beforehand. I was like, you know what? Every single time I get so excited about something, I feel like I'm too much. I feel like I just bring all this energy, and I'm looking for that energetic mirror almost in the other. Well, my partner was a projector, and that energetic excitement is not going to be the same as it is in me. And that was the biggest thing for me, was finding out that he was a projector, my children are generators, I'm a generator, and how that dynamic actually works between their father and me, and how different it is and why it was so different. Yeah, that was the biggest thing for me, was relationships, knowing the different types.
Yeah, I mean, even just thinking about that, it has completely, totally improved my relationships. So I'm in a relationship with a projector, but she's an emotional projector. And even like, yeah, so even like before this relationship, if I mean, I could even remember at the beginning of our relationship, I remember thinking like, oh my God, why do you have to make everything so emotional? Like, why are
Yeah.
your emotions in every decision? I remember telling myself this stuff, like, because I'm
Yeah.
the complete opposite. I have a completely open
There's
solar plexus.
no
I don't
emotions.
even interpretate really, when it comes to my emotions. I make such logical, intuitive decisions. And that has been such the biggest shift in our relationship, is just understanding that she makes decisions completely different than the way I make decisions, and how to honor how we make decisions, right? And to help
Yeah.
support her and how she makes decisions and how I make decisions. I'm very like in the spot, like, let's do this. I know what I want. Let's, when it's in the moment. But then
Mm,
even when I know what it is, I'm like, hey, take your time. Let me know in a couple of days. Let me know in the
yes.
morning. But in before, I'd be like, why do you have to take so long? What's the what?
Right.
Why do you need to feel this out? Like, what? Why can't you make this decision as quick as
Hmm.
I can? Like, what? I don't understand. So really, I mean, human design has truly busted open my relationships, how I view relationships, how I interact in relationships, because
Hmm.
human design has showed me that everybody makes decisions different. We all operate in our own
Hmm.
different way. And I have some people on my side asking me, like, what is human design? And for those of you that don't know what it is, human design is an energetic blueprint due to your birth date, time, and location, And it shows you your unique energetic blueprint. And knowing your unique energetic blueprint can help you feel more connected to yourself. In the most simple answer that I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It helps you know the other person that you're with too, all the people around you, kind of helps you get to know them. I love that you mentioned the emotional motor and how that has such a huge dynamic when it comes to being in relationships with others or just anything. If you know someone with an emoting motor, knowing that they have to take time with every single decision, it's a game changer. Like knowing that they cannot respond to pressure and that you can't just bring clarity to them, that it truly is a motor that has to do its thing. Um, yeah, it was huge. It's huge.
I had somebody ask me, so what if it does the exact opposite? If you could explain what you mean to me by that question, I can maybe help answer that. But you know, what's been really interesting about even being in a relationship with an emotional projector, like I'm still getting used to understanding her low waves. Like it's still something that I have to like keep reminding myself, like it's just a low wave. It's just a low wave because I pick up on it so much. And if you guys can't tell, like
Yeah.
we live in an RV park, so we are in very small quarters to where it's kind of hard to separate ourselves from that energy. So um, it is even something that I'm still consciously working on today because it's crazy how much a defined solar plexus and an undefined solar plexus, how um, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. How uh, charged it can be, how
Yes.
you can feel the charge, like, and there will even be times where I'm like, why am I mad at you? Like, why am I mad? Like,
Hmm.
why am I, and I'm
Yeah.
not mad at you, but why am I mad at you? And I'm like, I'm picking up something emotional. I'm picking up some
Yeah.
emotional wave. And it's still something that I have to learn how to release when I'm picking it up.
Hmm.
So it's still constantly involving in our relationship for sure.
Right. I also have an open emotional. And for me, one of the most like excruciating things was when I had a newborn in the car who had an emotional motor. And when he was in the car with me, he didn't like car rides, so it would trigger that emotional wave. And for me, that pain of I have to fix this, I have to do something, I have to clear this energy now. That was a huge thing. So I wonder if that's the same feeling for you. Like there's just this pressure that you have to clear it,
Mm.
fix it, have to move it immediately, and not let it just kind of wave out. Like it's supposed to. Like it's just gotta go.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like that for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. um Man, and then so to kind of give, for me, I think when I think about, because I was thinking about like what am I going to say when it comes to like transformation for me in human design, and of course relationship did pop up, but for me I think more so um it helped me heal the way that I approach my work ethic. So for me, since I was younger, ever since I was little, I grew up in a very unstable home. My mom, not my mom has some things that she's still working through. My father's was an addict, so there was a
Yeah.
lot of trauma that happened. So ever since I was little, I always remember telling myself like, "You're going to be the one to get out of this. You're going to be the one to figure this out." So I've been like in survival mode since I was young.
Right.
And what that did was, especially when I got into my 20s, a lot of that trauma that I didn't deal with from a younger age really unfolded into some unhealthy habits, right? Like I had a lot of addiction problems to a lot of different things. And I put myself in situations that definitely weren't the best for me. But during this transformation of human design, before I found human design, what's really interesting when I was reflecting back is that I was a fitness coach. And when I was in my fitness industry and in my fitness career, I was taking so much Adderall just to keep up, like just
Mm,
to function, just to perform. Because I mean, I was working out at least 3 times a day, or at least 3 hours a day, on top of coaching 5 to 6 hours, which is an extensive amount of exercise on top of like a bunch of different things. Because in my mind, I was going to prove I was strong. I was
yeah.
going to prove that I could do everything. And the only way that I could truly get through the week and through the day was through medication. Like I physically couldn't in like output that much energy. And finding human design has showed me that I can do it differently, so that I don't have to exert myself in that way and to get the same results that I'm looking for. Because all I was looking for and truly chasing was success. Like at the end of the day, all I wanted to be was successful. And that was it. I was just chasing it because I wanted to basically my family to be like, fuck off. Like, I finally made it, you bitches. Like, I got out of the house. Like, I did it. And that's not how it turned out.
Yeah.
That's definitely not
Yeah.
what happened. My ego got in the way. And so really human design has showed me that that listening to my body is important, that I do have enough power to do the things that I want to do, but to also do them in a way that's healthy for me, and to not put me down these addictive roads just so that I can try to get to where I want to be.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's huge with your spleen too, because you instinctually know like what's healthy and what's not healthy, and is this going to benefit me, is this not going to benefit me. So knowing that you're driven for success and then being told that you have to go out there and chase it or manifest it or initiate it when that's not your signature, that's not how you're designed. I bet that was like huge for you because you were able to trust those instincts in that rest period. And the fact that you don't have to prove yourself, you don't have a defined heart, you're not an ego projector.
Yeah.
And if anybody in here has that ego defined, that's okay to prove yourself. It's okay to be like, I'm going to show every single one of you. But when it's undefined, it's like, I don't have to show you shit. I don't have to prove anything to you. In fact, it brings me more abundance when I don't. So it's just, I love that validation and that relief. Like, I don't have to prove myself. I don't have to be certain about anything. I can just kind of express and share without having to be defined in places I'm not.
Yeah, yeah, that's been the biggest game changer for me. Is realizing, and even the whole self worth thing. With the open heart center, I mean, of course, it's still something that we're all working, or at least I'm working through my own conditioning. But absolutely, I mean, a lot of my decisions came from my undefined heart center. I was like, I'll do this.
Mm-hmm.
I can prove myself here. I can prove
Yeah.
myself here. Oh, here's another Adderall. I can do this. Yes, sure. Here's another
Yeah.
Adderall. Like I would literally just take. But what's crazy is that I went to a neurologist because I had been in a couple accidents. I was in a motorcycle accident and I needed to get my things checked out up there. And so we checked for ADHD. I'm very, very ADHD. Like, should be on medication. But what's really interesting is since I found this modality and I've studied this whole modality and learned this whole modality completely off medication, which is like the biggest, truest accomplishment for me.
Wow.
Yeah, and to
That's
the core,
huge.
huge,
That's
Marisha, because
huge.
there was a point in time, like in my fitness career, I remember because I broke up with fitness and was a bouncer for a year because I was like, I need to do something different. I have got something's dying inside of me, and I don't know what it is. And
That
I
third line, ready to break the bond,
God,
ready for
yeah, for
change.
sure. And I remember, like, even when I was working at the bar, being a bouncer, I couldn't get out of bed. I had nothing. The Adderall had taken
Mm,
all my serotonin.
yeah.
It took everything that I would just lay in bed and didn't want to get out of it, couldn't get out of it. I had the mindset that like I couldn't do anything without this medication. Like I couldn't
Wow.
perform. I couldn't accomplish anything. Like I had truly believed that the only way I was going to accomplish things, because I had accomplished so much with it, that how was
Yes.
I going to accomplish anything without it? And what's
Yeah.
crazy is that once I gave that up, once I stopped drinking, once I started like doing my shadow work, this is where human design was like, hey, we're
Here
here for
you
you.
go.
Here you go. Here's a modality
Are
that
you
we think
overworking yourself?
here's a modality that we think you should study. And that's when I found human design. So I think how it divinely laid itself out in my life was absolutely beautiful. And yeah, it's been a huge, huge transformation within myself because of it, for sure.
Wow. And did you find the same type of relationship with like a lot of different stimulants, caffeine, things like that, like anything to try and keep you going?
Oh man, okay. I was taking Adderall. I would drink Bangs. I would take
Oh my
pre-workout without
gosh.
water. Right?
Wow.
I don't drink any caffeine right now at all. I haven't had
At all.
caffeine. I don't
That's
drink it.
amazing.
This morning I ran out of decaf tea. What's really funny is I ran out and my partner was like, I'll just dip like my caffeinated tea bag just a little in some hot water. And I was wired at like 9 a.m. I was like, I feel like I'm on fucking crack. And all I had was like a sip of tea that doesn't even have that much caffeine in it.
Wow.
So I've completely like detoxed from alcohol, from caffeine, from Adderall, because I realized my nervous system was so fucked up. I was super addicted to Molly. I would take Molly and go to work and be an accountant. Yeah, yeah.
Oh
That's
my
how like
gosh.
it was crazy how much stimulants, caffeine. Um, yeah, I did coke for a little bit, like anything that kept me up because I was just running on
Yeah.
fumes and
Wow.
gasoline. Yeah, it was scary
And
times.
anyone in here, she's a projector energy type. So that life force, sacral energy, the generator, go, 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 create, build, that's not there. That's not meant to be there. And so a tendency for projectors is to take any sort of caffeinated beverage, anything that will wire you up and get you going to be able to produce, to be able to do because it's not naturally innate within you.
Yeah, I'm really working on going with ebb and flow. So when it's there, it's there.
Yeah.
When it's not, it's not. And that's probably, and it's really hard because sometimes I'm like, are you
Yeah.
lazy? Are you not lazy? Like, are you doing, like, I'm like
Right.
constantly checking in with myself because I've been so conditioned from the sacral to be like, you should be working. And I'm like, I don't know. I should not be doing anything. Anytime I
Yeah.
say the word should, I really reevaluate myself. Like, I really try to remove the word should from my vocabulary. It's either
Yeah.
I'm going to do it or I'm not going to do it
Hmm.
when it comes to that.
And your spleen, whenever it gives you those instinctual yeses or nos, just sometimes is like when it's a yes, is it not a clear yes, but when it's a no, it's a very clear no?
Ooh. Hmm. It's a very clear no. It is always a
Yeah.
very clear no. Like, I'm like, this isn't it. This is not it. And then that's where my mind will step in and logically try to defend, like, why is it a no? Should it be a no? There goes that word should again,
Yeah.
right? And so, yeah, but when it comes to yeses, and what I'm practicing and continuing to practice within this experiment is to just be quiet with myself, like, so
Mm.
I can just listen. And because I'm very, I have a lot of energy to
Yeah.
exert, but in a lot of situations I really just try to listen. But yeah, it's really interesting that you say that. The no's are very clear, very, very
Yeah.
clear, but the yeses, and I wonder why the yeses are very, maybe sometimes unclear. Maybe it's because we don't want to trust it, or maybe because it's unknown. I
Yeah,
wonder
and
why.
I've heard that the if it's not 100% no, then maybe it's a yes, and to like let your spleen kind of just lead you there, but it might not always be as clear of a yes as it is for a no. So I
Hmm.
had to ask to see like are they both as clear or is the no way louder and the yeses are like a bit more curious or sometimes it's like a yes immediate, like it just fluctuates. And sometimes it could be like a whisper
It
even
does.
at times.
Yeah, it does fluctuate. Because it's definitely the whisper. I get a lot of voices. I feel like I get a lot of things that'll tell me go left, or something that's like yes or no or don't go there. So I feel like I get a lot of voices, but the voices are more when it's about like a direction or something. It's not like if
Yeah.
we're in a it's not like if we're in a decision making and you're like, "Hey, Brandi, do you want to do this?" I don't feel like a voice comes up. For me, it's more like a feeling. But when I'm by
Mm,
myself and there's nobody involved, then the voices come. If that makes
right.
any sense, and I'm not sure why that is. I'm kind of just piecing that together myself right now.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense actually. Because you've got so many open centers. And so I feel like that makes sense that it would be super easy to get a lot of outer feedback rather than when you're alone that just it's just there.
Oh yeah, very true. Very, very true.
Yeah. And then your environment, is it left facing?
Yeah. Yes. Mhm.
Right. So that's another interesting thing too is like you like to be active, but you're not here to essentially just like work and build and create. So is that another thing that you found? Like I like to be active. I like to have these like active moments where I'm here doing this, but I don't like to necessarily build and create and try and initiate. So it's like you like to be active, but at the same time, you're not here to exert a lot of energy in creating and building. So it's like finding that sweet spot of the spleen being like, let's go on a run, let's go home. Or like,
Yeah,
let's go do this, let's fold this laundry, let's do this, and then let's go.
that's 100% correct. Because, like, and that's why I loved coaching, because it was busy. It was always moving. I
Mm-hmm.
was always active, but I was
Yeah.
always so fucking tired.
Yeah.
Like, just, I can't explain to you how tired I
Yeah.
truly, truly was. And that makes so much sense, because even now, I really loosen my days up on how I produce. Like, I'll be in the morning and I'll be productive. But even when I'm not working, I'm still I'm doing something. Like, I'm either cleaning,
Yeah.
or I'm organizing, or I'm jotting and I'm thinking, but it's not, I'm active, but I'm not active at the same time.
Yeah.
You know
Like
what
you're
I
not
mean?
exerting work, you're just staying active in your environment. And that's a
Is,
healthy environment for you.
is yours pointing to the right?
Mine's pointing to the left, which is something I've
Mhm.
actually really struggled with, is that I naturally like to not be active. And I found that it was when I was eating unhealthy. So when I eat because my eating is very selective, it is right facing and it's supposed to be intuitive and more simple. It's alternating, so I have a simpler diet. And I can, when it's right facing your diet, when it's right facing, you have the ability to fast and naturally skip meals. Well, when I get on a schedule with my family, I tended to just eat on a schedule and eat what everyone else was eating. And that put me in a state where I felt very exhausted and tired and did not want to be active in my environment. And I would much rather be scrolling couch potato, which is super healthy for right variables, but not for me. So I did accumulate weight when I do that. And so now I'm actually tuning into a lot more of being able to fast, being more active, and finding satisfaction in that and feeling less frustrated when my day is coming to an end. Because when I spend that time, where I feel exhausted or I feel like I'm just like on the couch, which can happen if I eat anything that is overwhelming with ingredients, because that's just my diet style. And so I found that when I naturally fast and I naturally let myself just stay active, then I naturally am satisfied at the end of my day rather than frustrated. And I get more work done and I actually am satisfied with what I get done.
Yeah, and it's funny how I mean, it's because it's called the four arrows of transformation. So it does go
Mm-hmm.
in order, right? Like, if your first
Yeah.
one in your diet isn't correct, or you're not following the correct diet, or you're not feeding your body the way that is meant to be fed, then you're going to be not acting in your environment maybe the way
Yeah.
that you're meant to be acting in your environment. So that's super, super interesting. Because, and you know what's crazy? I was actually reflecting about this. I feel like such a dick. So, I mean, in one of my previous relationships, I remember like coming out, or it was when I was living, it was a roommate or something, but I just remember coming out of my room and like getting physically like painful, because she used to sit in silence, and I have my digestion is high, so
Yeah.
I need sound when I'm doing
Sound.
anything. I need
Yeah.
headphones, I need a TV on, and with my ADHD brain, I need kind of multiple things going on so I can pay
Stimulation.
attention. And I remember just coming out and being like, how the fuck are you sitting in silence? Like, this doesn't make any this I getting anxiety from the silence. And she thought I was
Yeah.
absolutely like batshit crazy. And that just also goes to show, like, if you know your design and you know certain things about yourself, that you can honor those things about yourself. You can give yourself those things that some other people may just find absolutely maybe different or abnormal. And so I thought about that during that situation when I was looking at that. I thought it was funny.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's funny too, like when partners see like the other and they're like, why are you so lazy? Like, why do you just sit there and da, da, da? And it's like when they're designed to just sit there and not do anything, but you have like a really productive partner who's super active, generator or something. And that's why I feel like it's so good to know about this, because we're truly super, super different in every single way, especially when it comes to like eating and stuff. Like, I think that's the craziest part, is that the traditional sitting at a family meal for dinner at the table, all TV off, all things off, and how that can actually be really unhealthy for some people. Like I have a child who's nervous digestion. He's got to have the stimulation. He's got to. He won't even open his mouth if there's not something stimulating. And because he's nonverbal, knowing that about him and not being like, no, we just gotta, eat it. What's wrong? Like, but knowing that it's because I can turn the TV or the TV's off, that he's not eating correctly, or that there's not enough action around him, or the food isn't flavorful enough, whatever it is, that he needs that extra stimulation while he's eating, and allowing that, because that's something that I didn't grow up with, like being allowed to not eat quietly at the dinner table, like having to sit still and be quiet, but it's just not healthy for a lot of people. So that was another thing that helped me with human design, transforming how I treat my kids at dinner time and mealtime, and being allowing them to be differentiated with that.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're open to it, I would really love to hear because you said you have a child who's nonverbal.
Mm-hmm.
How has being able to read their chart influenced or help your relationship with being able to parent them?
Oh, tremendously. Like just knowing his digestion was nervous was a huge thing, because he naturally likes smoothies, and he naturally has digestive issues at times. And so knowing that smoothies can help, like him being attracted to smoothies is something that's probably because it's best for him. And I can allow that to be a meal that's frequent for him and not feel bad. Like he's not getting, meatloaf and mashed potatoes because he just prefers something like that. That was huge for me. Also, knowing that he's a 5'1", and that he naturally likes to have alone time. Because when you have a child who can't speak up, you want to make sure they're involved in every single thing, and that there's equal, everything shared. But for him, he doesn't want to be involved in every single thing. He truly loves his like solitude moments and his investigation, curiosity moments, and he doesn't like surprises. And that's another thing, like he's naturally kind of startles, and he doesn't want like, oh, today we're going on a surprise trip. Like he would not like that, and he doesn't. And so knowing about the 5'1", and how I need to like introduce things to him and lead up to certain things before bringing that on. And his cognition is touch. So when I don't know what he wants, when we can't figure it out, there's been times where literally he will just touch us, or we'll just reach out and grab his hand, and then all of a sudden dad or I will be like, what if it's this? What if it's that? And then that's the thing that he wanted. That's the thing that was bothering him.
Wow.
So with touch cognition, what that means is that you're able to pass information from your body to another person's body, or vice versa. He can pick up a lot of information from us. So when I'm in a bad energy or a bad mood, I won't go near him or let him touch, won't give hugs. I won't give false hugs. I'm only going to engage whenever mom's good, mom's clear, because he literally picks up on all that information. When I'm sad, if I end up touching him or feeding him while I'm upset, immediately he'll start to like get tensed up. And I didn't know that it was so sensitive until human design, and knowing that he's picking up all that information through his touch, but he's also able to pass information. So the him not being able to detail tell us, like his yeses and nos are clear because he's a manifesting generator, so that or that closed I was able to use that too with human
Wow.
design, because he's a manifesting generator. So I was like, you don't need words in the first place. So when it's not very clear with his yeses and nos from his sacral, then I get to allow him to touch my hand, or just sit with him, and then the information usually comes through. And that's a game changer for having a child who's nonverbal. It's just really a blessing, honestly.
Wow. Do you do readings for other parents who want to know maybe more about their children?
I have done readings for parents that want to know more about their children, children that are as nonverbal as my son, not yet, but that is something that hopefully will start to happen here soon. That's what I'm pushing towards with my practice, is getting this information out there, because the children are really the most important part about human design. That's why Ra had this information come through, is because there's a new species of human coming to Earth in 2027, and they're going to be possibly nonverbal. They're going to be in an energy where we're going to have to be super receptive to who they are, and differentiated support instead of boxing anybody in. There won't be able to be boxes anymore. So learning about this and being able to teach it, I hope in the future I will be able to attract more parents who are interested in this if it will help them, because I feel like that's the future, is this is for the children, those children specifically who can't speak up for themselves.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. That's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with the
It,
touch. You know, like
yeah.
that's huge. That's a game changer. Because like my partner, she has a son, and I use human design just to even try to connect with him, and how it's helped me be able to engage with him and to be able to parent him and to be able to ask
Mhm.
specifically yes and no questions, because he's a manifesting generator, you know, and so like that's
Mhm.
also improved that relationship. But as before, where I was like, what, why can't you guys tell me what you want? Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand why no one can't tell me. Like, do you, like, what do you want? But now I
Yeah.
know it's more specific questions. And now I'm able to use my projector, you know, skills
Yeah.
to guide, like, do you want this? Do you want that? And what was huge was one of the last things when you were on a collaboration call on Zoom, and you said it about your partner, where he I'm not. You said it, but you will be able to explain it better than I. But when you said that, um, when because he's a projector and you're a generator, how he
Mhm.
will come up and be like, kind of tell you maybe how you could have
Oh,
done something better, and you're like,
yes.
what? Shut up, you know, like what? Don't come over here
Yeah.
telling me how I could do it. But then when he asks you questions that makes you think, and you're able to
Yes.
answer those questions, it's a whole lot more easier. And I was like, ah. I feel like I've
Yes.
forgotten to do that in my own relationship. I feel like even though I'm in a
Yeah.
relationship with a projector, I will still be
Mhm.
like, do you see what you're doing here? Like, are you aware of what you're doing? But what's so interesting is projectors are so good at seeing from the outside.
Yeah.
That doesn't always mean that we're good to see on the inside. You know, we can
No, you're
project
not
and we
designed to.
no,
It's
because we're
only when you get with
projecting.
another projector that that's even possibly possible in that way.
Yeah. And so like when you said that, I've been really working on that and being like, stop fucking inputting your stuff and
Yeah.
start asking her questions and getting her to answer the question rather than just inputting your advice, because yeah, it still comes out that way. But you really opened my eyes to that situation, and how even when I'm still in the relationship, even when I've already been invited,
Mhm.
I still need to be able to ask the questions to do the guiding. And that's the biggest thing
Yeah.
for projectors, is really learning how to ask the right questions. And when you can learn
Yes.
how to ask the right questions, that's when you're able to help guide the other energy types for sure.
Oh yeah, 100%. And it takes time for sure when you're in a relationship as a projector, because there's so many invitations. Like you have the initial invitation, the relationship is set, but there's always going to be little invitations from then on out, I feel like. And if I'm not open as a generator to the invitation, immediately there's that rejected field of like where I'm not being recognized, there's no ability to see. But for me it's like it wasn't the right time. I have to come to that energetic terms myself, because I can't see that that's guidance that I could utilize. My body won't even be open to it until the moment it is receptive to guidance. So it's like, I love to explain it as if someone, there's a guide on a trail, like literally a guide on a trail, and you're going down this trail and he's guiding you, but essentially he doesn't do the work for you and he doesn't take over, and he's like, you have to do it like this or you have to do it like that, unless it comes to survival or someone's about to chop a hand, third lining it. And there are times where I have to take that seat and I'm like, this is advice that I need, and I'll feel that. But a lot of the times when there's these, it can almost be seen as a bit manipulative, because at the end of the day you're giving this advice, but it's just circling around directly telling somebody something, and being able to just kind of curiously ask questions so they can come to their own conclusion with it and see that it's the better advice, because it naturally is. Whatever the guidance is, it's something I need.
Right?
It just
Yeah.
might not be ready for it yet.
No, absolutely. Now, and this is a really way off topic question, but have you gotten to the point of studying that generational trauma healing? So your subconscious Mars and being in the line, do you know which lines? Like, because okay, so for example, my subconscious Mars is 39.4. And being in the
Right.
fourth line, I believe that comes with a fear of rejection. And that's
Yeah.
actually something that I'm meant to heal. Do you know the lines as to what we're meant to heal?
Yes.
Because I forgot them. If you could tell me what they are.
Yes, the core wounds. The core wounds, and this can be literally with any of your lines, I feel like that you're resonant with, but especially that unconscious Mars. So that's going to be on your design side, guys. Then the red, and it's the one that looks like Mars pointing up. It's red, and that is your design Mars. And the line is going to be after the gate. So you may see 46 and, like she said, point 0.4. So the first line, if you have a first line unconscious Mars, that's all about the wound of insecurity. That's the wound of like I'm not good enough. I'm insecure about the information that I have. That the foundation isn't secure. Being in a background, family background that is super super unstable, no foundation whatsoever, those kinds of energies can be seen within that first line core wound of I'm never going to find that security. And that security first comes within itself. So that's that first line. The second line can have the core wound of denial. So I don't see myself, I'm not good, I'm can't be honest about this certain thing because if I'm honest, I'm not going to get this energy, or people aren't honest with me. People in the family home may have just not been honest about what they saw within you. They lied about the person they thought that you were. There can be so much within that second line. It's a projection field. So people projecting their ideas onto you and denying who you are. There can be a lot of just all around denial, the core wound. The third line core wound is shame. That's mine. Shame and separation and
Okay.
abandonment. The abandonment wound. That's huge with the third line because of separation, because of the third line, shame, being feeling that need for space. With that third line, there's a fear of abandonment. If I separate from this, I'm never going to have anybody again. It's huge for me. It's been a huge thing for me. So that third line, how you heal that shame, and we can go into that too, how we can heal these core wounds. So I'll just go in the fourth one. The fourth one we talked about rejection. That's that fourth line wound. And then there can also be heart stuff with the heart with the fourth line. Is your heart open? Do you feel good about the compassion around you? Horses come to mind. Horses are a fourth line energy. Do you like horses? Like, is that energy of like having horsepower and having that confidence and having that ability to, if I'm rejected, it's only redirection into recognition. Like always saying that to yourself. Every single sense of rejection is redirection to recognition. And then the fifth line, oh, what's the fifth line core wound? Um, the sixth line is isolation. What's the fifth line? The sixth line is all about isolation. So feeling like you have to hide yourself, feeling like you can't show up, feeling like you gotta be alone too much, like not knowing that you gotta come back out and be seen every once in a while, feeling like you have to isolate. And then the
I'm not
fifth
sure.
line, let's see. It's gonna come to me.
Well, it's really interesting. So mine's rejection, and
Yeah.
I'm not really like I'm not a jealous person, right? Like, with this, I was really thinking about this. I'm like, man, but this it got deep, and this is where my shadow work really came in, and I was like, rejection, and I guess like there are certain aspects of myself where rejection is something that I need to heal, but with my father being an addict, like that was the biggest rejection because he didn't choose us.
Mm,
He chose
yeah.
other things. He was always choosing that over our family up until his deathbed. Like truly, for 30 years, this has been like a consistent cycle. And I realized like that's my biggest core rejection that I had experienced and how that still affects. And so I feel like my rejection goes a lot deeper that I'm still trying to heal. But that made so much sense because I didn't relate to it at first. I was like, rejection,
Wow.
like I don't care. Like, but now that I'm thinking about it, why
Mhm.
don't I care? Why don't I?
Yes.
Why do I have this defense mechanism? Why do I have this protective mechanism? And it's because,
Mm,
well, I mean, because the one person that I wanted to accept me or accept or just, that
yeah.
never was actually there. So it got really deep for me when I thought about that.
Right. That makes so much sense with that line too. And then the fact that it has to do with your heart and being able to open your heart back up to being
Yep.
accepted and knowing that that person just wasn't the person to accept you in. It had nothing to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
The fifth line, guilt. That's the
Guilt.
core wound for the fifth line is guilt. And so someone just typed in that theirs is the fifth line in Mercury. So there can be guilt associated with the fifth line and feeling like you have to fix it or change it or you can't show up as yourself, like having to forgive yourself because that guilt can really take over to where you feel like you can't stand on your own, project your full self, garner your audience with that vocation because that's what that design Mars is. It has a lot to do with your career and what you're asserting in your work life. You said yours is in the 46, which makes so much. Is that what you said?
39. 39.
39. 39, which that makes so much sense with you being that provoking energy with your network and your community too. Um, so that vocation, when it comes in, knowing that those core wounds are there to release yourself so you can be your full self in your career, so you can aggressively stand firm in that and not have to shy away, not feel too ashamed, insecure, guilty, like you can't be that person, you're not good enough to. Guilt really to me has a lot to do with feeling like you're not good enough to because of your past, feeling like because you said this somewhere else or because you did this at one point or because your family was this that you can't be this now, and you feel guilty for even your family stuff which isn't yours to carry on, which is a
Right.
lot. I see a lot of times where people will carry guilt from what their family has done, and it's just puts blocks up.
Yeah. And what's really interesting, and I wonder if this even relates to you, because like, so your subconscious Mars is like something that you're really here to heal, to step into that vocation, right? And I'm meant to heal the way that I provoke people, the way that I show up, the way that I ask questions, how I ask those questions. And if you had to ask me today, what's probably one of the biggest issues that I have, like, because it's also ancestral trauma and generational
Mm-hmm.
trauma that comes in through, especially through that one. And if you had to ask me, one of the biggest things about and disagreements that I have with my mother is the way that she provokes, is the way that she comes about, and with
Mm.
my grandmother. And like, so that even just that gate and the way that our family dynamic has laid out fits really true for me. And because like I have
Mm-hmm.
this saying with my sister, like if I start acting like my mother, I need you to tell me. Like I need you to tell me
Yeah.
if I start acting like her. And
Yep.
realizing that she acts a lot out of this lowest expression, and how I'm meant to heal that. Do you have a similar relationship to your subconscious Mars in that manner and what
Oh,
you're here to heal?
yeah, for sure. Mine's in the 45 line 3, and the 45 has a keynote of anger because it's a manifesting gate. And that is something I've had to deal with so much. And it was like one of the biggest things when I became a mom. I was like, I'm never going to yell at my kids. I'm never going to get angry at them like my parents did. Totally, definitely did. And then I had to deal with that line 3 of shame, being
Mm.
ashamed of it because I have to move through my shame of my anger and allow myself to find peace with not being in control and not having to be in control and not having to assert dominance or not having to make sure everything goes the way that I speak on because I'm not a manifester. And that 45 really comes into play with me making sure I remember that I'm a generator, not a manifester, when I feel that anger and I know that it's not self. So, yeah. And then my family growing up, there's so much unreasonable anger. And it's something that was a huge deal for me as I got to an adult was just like that anger. Like, how do we deal with our family not being so angry and allowing peace to become the norm? So for sure, the gate in question comes into play too.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, are there any questions on your end that you want to answer for those who are in your room or want to bring up?
Yeah, guys, go ahead. And if you guys have any questions in here, please put them in the chat now if you'd like to. I had someone say, such a game changer. I used to work with developmentally disabled and would have loved to known about this then. And I hope that everyone who parents or deals with children or works with children, whatever it is that they have access to this information. I think that's another thing about my 45 is being able to give resources when people come to me for them. And so that's another thing that I hope to continue to do is just share these resources, share whatever it is that can help immediately for children and for people who need to know about this. I have, isn't gate 9 linked to ADHD? Do you have gate 9
I don't.
or
But it is.
52?
Isn't it called the Gate of Focus? Gate 9.
Yes.
Um,
And so, yes, gate 9 can definitely be linked to ADHD from what I've learned. Now,
mhm.
not all the time, but the fact that if it's out of balance, there can be a lot of energy that is unfocused and can be spread all around and not able to sit with one thing even when it wants to. So that's the thing with that type of energy is like if it's okay to be all over the place and unfocused when it doesn't put you in your not self energy of bitterness and anger and frustration and disappointment. So that gate 9 in balance, it can focus and it has the ability to focus on certain things long terms, but out of balance for sure, it can be linked to feeling super out of focus.
Yeah. So it's even like with Gate 50, like if you have Gate
Mm.
50, but let's say you don't have Gate 9, sometimes it can be hard to know where to put that energy, where to focus. So that's where that ADHD can really come in. But if you have Gate 52, or if you have Gate 9 without Gate 52, you may not be able to sit long enough to be able to concentrate, which is where the ADHD comes in. So I feel like that full channel sometimes can also be taken as part of ADHD, along with the manifesting
Yes.
generation energy for sure. One of the questions on here was question being a non-sacral, does it mean we might have challenges convincing? I don't know.
Convincing others as a non-sacral, you're
Yeah,
not
I'm
here
sure.
to convince anybody of anything ever. You're here to be seen and heard for who you are as a non-sacral
Sorry, it's
and wait.
conceiving, not convincing.
Conceiving.
Conceiving,
Oh,
baby. Might be challenges conceiving from a non-sacral. So they're wondering if they don't have a defined sacral,
oh,
could it be challenging
conception.
to conceive a child? Sorry, guys, I read that
Conceiving.
wrong.
Okay. I can actually get into this a little bit from what I've studied with the design moon. Now, your design moon is what attracts your relationships in. So, this is the red side, the moon that's colored in red. Depending on the line that you have, sometimes we can see sterility or fertility. I'm pretty sure that's in the line 1. But also, if you don't have sacral energy, you may not be someone who naturally wants to constantly reproduce or has that availability for reproduction. And if you have a hanging gate 6 or a hanging gate 59, this is another thing that I've seen come up when it with fertility, especially the gate 6. I've noticed this is just my own noticings of this gate is that it can close itself off when it feels like there's confrontational energy in the person that it's mating with. So even if you want to have a baby with somebody, if they're naturally conflicting or confrontational or there's just a lot of friction, that part of your body may not want to produce or be fertile, or the pH balance can be a bit off. Or I've even seen the opposite where that friction can really stir up fertility. So I've noticed the gate 6, the gate 59, and your design moon lines can indicate fertility or being sterile. And that gate 6, I have noticed that it really does want to shut off sometimes and shut back on at its own will. Maybe not with everybody who has that, but that's just something I've noticed.
Yeah. It's so even just speaking about gate 59, I have gate 59. I believe it's like in my 59, it's in my Mercury, it's conscious Mercury. And it's the gate of sexuality. But what's really interesting is like, even though it's called the gate of sexuality and we're speaking about conceiving, I wouldn't consider myself, and I have an undefined sacral, a very sexual person. But
Right.
my sexuality or that energy really comes out through projects, through through relationships, but in a different way. Um,
Right.
I don't know. I just felt like I need to say that.
Yeah, and I've noticed with the 59 too, sometimes it can be intimate with like its surroundings. So I know someone who has this who maybe they're even in here. They're a professional landscape artist and they have the 59 in their 10th house and so they're a projector so they kind of guide intimacy in backyards and guide people towards intimacy in their backyards, but it has nothing to do with sexuality, yet it can trigger your sensual feelings inside of you. So you may experience with that gate like not the need to be sexual but sensual, to have sensual experiences with everything around, with how you talk. It could come across more sensual than than you may be aware of.
Oh yeah, yes, no, that is a common complaint in most of my relationships. They're like, "You're such a flirt." I'm like, "I'm not flirting. I'm not flirting. I am being polite." And they're like, "That's your
Yeah.
whatever." And I'm like, "I don't know, but that's." But it's in my Mercury. It's how I communicate.
Yeah.
Like I truly
Can't
communicate
help it.
through sensory. Like I like to touch people. I'm like, "Are you doing okay? How
Yeah.
are you? How are things going?" But it never goes any further than that. I just want you to know that I'm
Yes.
here for you if you need it. You know what I mean? Um,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. And then as a projector, if your attention goes anywhere else besides the person that you're with, they're gonna be jealous.
Right.
They're gonna feel like, wait a minute, where's my projector? Where's that energy? Because they can feel immediately when your gaze goes somewhere else for the time being. So notice that when you're at parties or something, if you're not locked into the person that you came with, there might be some friction that comes up later on like I didn't get the attention you're giving this person attention, because that attention is so freaking valuable as a projector. I notice immediately when the attention is gone from me and headed towards someone else when it comes to that projector relationship. So notice like projectors in here, and I've got a few. Your attention is so attractive. Like your one-on-one attention is gold, and getting it is feels like I'm like royalty. Like I just get it. I'm getting one-on-one divided attention. You don't get that from generators. You don't get that it's me and you and I'm penetrating and you're just like deep within this conversation that it's more amplified and magnetic. But with a projector you really feel like they want to know, they want to see me, they really want this to be a thing. So it's I imagine that if you're out with a partner, if your attention goes anywhere else there's probably friction.
Man, that's so yes, you nailed that exactly on the head, and now that makes sense. I mean, even yeah, no, that makes so much sense, and I never thought of it like that. I never understood
Mm-hmm.
it. Like I never understood it
Yeah,
until this exact moment. Like why?
because it's a
Why?
penetrating aura, but it penetrates one thing at a time. So as soon as it moves, that person who is getting it can feel it. It's like, wait, where did that penetration go? Where are you? Wait a minute, come back. And then you
That's
probably have exes hitting you up like, wait, do you want to try and work it out? Do you? Because they feel that thing, that energy all of a sudden gone. And so it's like now they know what it feels like and they want it back because they didn't recognize it before.
yeah. One person asked, "What do you feel is the most complicated part of human design?"
The most complicated part, the parts I don't know yet, like
Right.
um,
I
base
man,
theory I'm getting into right now, which
what
is
theory
like
are
the
you getting into?
universe is a base four, and so I'm trying to understand that.
You said base four.
Yeah, the universe is a base four, so it's all about relationships. So really, like all of us here, our entire purpose as a humankind is to now connect and have relationships, connect as individuals, as our pure individual selves. But bonding, connect. So I'm trying to understand what all that means right now, and I think that's the most complicated part is getting below where you're getting to color, tone, base, and this is where we find out how you're eating, how you're motivated, what you're giving people, what your relationship, like why are you even doing what you're doing. That kind of gets into those really small intricate details, and that's probably the most complex for me.
No, yeah, I was gonna say color tone and base, but like when it goes into each gate, like each gate has a color tone and base, and that's what makes even so like when even okay, somebody was asking about twins, right? Like
Yeah.
how twins have the same, but twins are going to be different when you get down to color, tone, and bass, because color, tone, and bass changes minute by minute by
Mm-hmm.
minute, which makes us so unique. So they may have
Yes.
the same gates, but how those gates manifest or how those gates appear underneath is where I'm trying to get at, learning how to read the color, tone,
Yeah.
and bass, which is the most complicated part. I
Yeah.
feel like
And
of human design.
yeah, it is. And then that's where you can also get into the design moon because twins may not have the same line in their design moon as each other, like the same when you're design. That's why the design moon is super important, is because it's attracting a lot of those relationships in and those things in. And that's why twins will have differences there because they can't be the same unless they were born at the exact same second. That design moon's going to be drastically different in a lot of ways because the moon moves so fast, but it's such a huge influence in our chart.
What's your design moon?
My design moon is the gate 19 in line 3. So I attract I attract there's a lot with the line 3 flirtation, like we talked about. That's something I tend to attract or I tend to dabble in. Promiscuity was a big thing in my relationships in the shadow, where I would attract promiscuous people or people that attract a lot of people. And then the gate 19 is all about sensitivity, and so I've dealt with a lot of insensitivity and people insensitive to my like very intricate needs, gaslighty energy. So the night learning about that was a huge deal for me. Huge in my
Yeah.
relationships for
Somebody
sure.
somebody commented, I always wonder if people accidentally mess up the times on birth certificates.
Yeah.
I've never even thought about that, but that makes me question a lot.
Oh
Right.
yeah. And that's why when you start to get into color, tone, base, the little small parts, how you eat, to always follow your strategy and authority, always follow your inner knowing, because what if they did get it wrong? What if they did and you don't want to stick to something super strict that your authority is like, or and you can test out your own authority. I can sense people without them telling me their birth charts immediately, like, oh, that's a generator, that's a manifester, that's 100% a projector. You can feel it when you start to get into this. And so you don't need human design. You don't need your birth time. You just need to be able to trust yourself.
Yeah, no, 100%. 100%. Let's see.
I did have
Um,
someone ask if we could speak on the 1333 a little bit, the prodigal. And I
yeah,
heard something about this yesterday, actually, that talked about it being the channel of fascism in the lowest expression. So we see a lot of dictators with this energy who want to control and dictate people. So the other side could be being able to tell a story that's super influential that can garner people thinking it's prophecy, thinking that you're onto something, feeling the prophetic message through what you're speaking on. But I when I read that yesterday about it being dictators having that energy, I was like, where does that come into play with the 1333? Because you're really able to soak in a lot of secrets, right? And speak on all these reflections that you have. So that's one channel that you and I have together, actually. I have the 33 and you have the 13.
yeah, and I mean, if you think about dictatorship and like the 1333, someone who has that channel is going to be able to steer projects and people. And if you're hearing certain things and you want to make a story, you can direct people the way that maybe that you're wanting them to direct them through what you're hearing, like maybe
Ah,
through maybe some manipulation, right? Through,
wow. So that's
through
what it is.
Could be, because I mean, yeah, if the 13 is all about listening. Well, what are they listening to? What's their motive? And then how are they sharing that story? How are they presenting it? What narrative are they using it to influence, or are they using it to manipulate? But they can really steer projects or people because they have the
Mhm.
direction and they have the voice to do it. Because I have the 13th in my design
Yeah.
moon in the fifth line. And what's really funny is like this is what we attract. And when you're living in the lowest expression of that gate 13, you're just stuck in old stories, right? And if
Yeah.
I'm being stuck in old stories, what am I attracting through these negative type of narratives that I'm hearing. I'm also, my Chiron is the gate of 56. What I'm here to heal is the way that I share these stories. So how am I telling these stories? What am I stuck in? What am I
And
attracting in my,
stimulants,
yeah, what am I attracting
which
in
we
my
talked
life
about.
through those negative stories? So it's really interesting to think about.
That's so crazy because literally you talked about your one of your stories was talking about stimulants, and that gate 56 is all about stimulants too. And so a huge part of
Oh,
your story is healing yourself from stimulants. And that happened literally this your Saturn return. So it's like a huge thing, a huge deal. That's crazy. That's like another thing I had to heal from too. That's so
wow.
crazy. Yeah, and then also I know the 1333 I have mentioned that it's like a Akashic record mediumship type energy because when I've tuned into that energy before, it's like people who have it, the prodigals, they do have access, I feel, to the Akashic records. Like they can go and they can tune into the books of people's lives. I also sense the 44 can do that too with people's past lives, but it's more of an instinctual, reptilian, cold blooded awareness. Whereas the 1333 is like, let me go into my library, let me go into your books and your Akashic records. So if that's something that resonates with you that have the 1333, please hold on to that because that's something that I felt really called to talk about. And I'm glad you mentioned it.
Yeah. Somebody asked, can you explain the stimulants in gate 56? And what we were talking about, and depending on how long you've been on this live, I was very addicted to stimulants. I was very addicted to stimulants to keep me operating before I found human design. And if you guys look at your human design chart, your Chiron is what you're here to heal in this lifetime. And what Marisha was saying is that because I actually gave up all stimulants, was it right before my 30s when I was 29, I gave up all stimulants to that I was using, and that is something that I've truly been healing since my Saturn return, which is absolutely fucking crazy that you just made that connection, that I'm meant to
Yeah.
heal that. And so what we were saying is that that's something that I'm meant to heal, that I'm meant to, not to get stuck and lost in these stories. And what's fucking crazy is that once I realized that I needed to change my narrative, that's when I started opening up, like, I need to stop taking this, I need to stop doing this, I need to give myself better direction and healing my body, because I've just been using stimulants and being stuck in the same story because I'm just repeating bad patterns because I don't trust myself or think that I'm capable enough of actually completing what I want to. Thank you, Marisha. That is huge.
Yeah, and you were able to share your story about it. That's huge too because it truly helps so many people, especially projectors that are addicted to caffeine, Adderall, things like Coke, anything to get them awake and aware and building and generating energy that they don't have. That's a huge story, and the fact that the 56 is a story and you have story about stimulants and how you've healed from that, that's going to help people forever. It's going to truly help people forever because stimulants are going to be an issue forever for a lot of people because that's something that our society continues to push to make everybody generators or manifestors.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
huge. I love this live. It's been so helpful.
Yeah, no, it has. Everyone over here is really appreciating it.
Yeah, over here too. I did have one question about the 5027. Do you have any amazing tips over the 5027
Amazing tips. Amazing tips.
or
I mean,
just anything that
I mean,
comes any yeah.
the first thing that comes to my head is like, are you taking care of yourself? I mean, that's the biggest tip because it's all about nurturing. It's all about giving. It's
Mhm.
all about, but if you're not nurturing yourself, then you're not going to be able to give to others. I mean, that's the biggest thing because that gate
Yeah.
50, um, it has that intuitive way of knowing how to bring everybody together. It has that intuitive way of knowing what
Mhm.
everybody needs. It has, that gate 50 is really about establishing those laws and values for everybody. But if you aren't taking care of yourself, you are just going to overcare. And it does no
Yeah.
good. That does nobody any good when you're overcaring, especially with gate 50 and gate 27. So I feel like with that whole nurturing channel, it really is. I mean, I feel like with almost every energy, it's like, where are you saying yes to yourself? Right? Like,
Yes.
where are you giving yourself the energy that you deserve so that when
Yes.
the opportunities come to you, you're able to exert that energy that you're giving to yourself? I feel like we're always giving our energy away, but never really practicing on giving it to ourselves. Um, So yeah, with that, that's the biggest thing that comes through for me with the 57-20 or 50-27.
Yeah, that's huge. And then I'd also say the other side too is when you start to feel in your not self signature sense, for you frustration, when you start to feel that frustration, is there a way to connect with people more? Isn't that a tribal circuitry? Do you need to touch some family? Is there some family that you have been like shying away from that you really want to go and be in that nurturing energy with? Are there friends that you want to like cook a meal for or like invite to your home that you haven't because you've just like been in like hideout mode? Like I would say also in the other end too, where you're not allowing yourself to nurture and do the caring and loving towards the people, or not allowing that care and nurtureness to just cultivate because you may be hiding out, you may be but just over it, whatever it is. And so allowing both sides, like take care of yourself. And then if you've done all the taking care of yourself, do you need to connect and experience that nurture, caring energy with others too?
Yeah, that's interesting because I have the 27 in my subconscious sun, and it's something that I'm like, but I like nurturing, but I'm not. But with what you just said, I'm like, oh shit, maybe it's maybe it's that. Maybe I've been giving to myself so much because I mean, like there are moments where
Giving
I'm
too
like,
much.
where I do want to nurture somebody else, or I do want to give. But sometimes I don't allow it. I'm like, fuck that. I'm not giving my energy there. Or fuck that. I'm not doing this. Like, I think
Yeah.
sometimes I get to the point where I'm like, fuck that. I'm not going to exert myself in
Yeah.
this manner. So I get really particular about who I
Which is
nurture.
good.
Yeah, it can be because I think yeah, because day 27 has a real big codependency pull to it,
Does
right?
it?
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, if you are nurturing everybody else, but then all of a sudden you're not wanted, like, and you love to be wanted, there can be this real strong codependency where you
Uh,
feel like your only purpose is just to nurture everybody else, when in reality, that's not its only purpose.
wow. And I know the 19 has that with codependency too. That's my design moon. And so I've recognized that same type of energy come up with that too. So that makes a lot of sense that it may come up with the 27 as well. Um, and I would say too, for you, it would be coming from invitations to be nurtured, like, hey, you wanna like tuck me in or something? You're like, well,
my
it's just
my
gonna
partner
be
has gate.
successful for me.
Well, me and my partner have boundaries because she's got gate 19 as her sun gate. So it's like
Oh wow.
she's super sensitive. She wants to cuddle. She wants to sleep together. And I'm like, any opportunity I get to sleep on the couch, like I love my partner, but I will totally take it. I'm like, couch time, yes. And I will
Yes.
like, because I know that I sleep better. I know that I
Yeah.
just energetically feel like completely different.
And you have dogs too, don't you? Are they generators?
Honestly, I haven't looked. I
I
haven't
bet.
looked. One of them, we don't have a birth date, but my Great Dane, I would love to see what she is. I'm sure she's a generator.
Yeah. Can you just
Yeah.
tell like the responses, like, come on, like just
Yeah.
immediate, like, me?
Exactly.
Let's go.
Exactly. Um, Somebody asked, have you looked into attachment styles in human design?
Different attachment styles. Oh, I mean, if there can be super, there can be a lot of signs for different attachment styles with human design. And the first one that comes to mind is the spleen being open. Are like what do you need when you have an open spleen and you're in a relationship compared to when you don't? Because the attachment style there is going to be if you, especially if you're with someone that has a defined spleen, is going to be like knowing that that safety and security is there even when your partner's not there, then being able to validate that that sense of security and safety, that I'm not leaving, you're safe, like being able to be open to like validating that sense when they're not there. Because for someone with an open spleen, they can immediately, when that partner's not there, be like, I'm scared, I'm alone, I'm vulnerable, and have to deal with gaining wisdom on finding safety and security alone away from the partner. So that's the first thing that comes to mind. Being able to let go when it's an unhealthy dynamic. That's another thing for the spleen, which can be an attachment style. Is like not knowing when to let go when someone may not be the best for you, and knowing that there can be someone more aligned, and finding safety and letting that go to allow that in.
You know what? So I haven't dove too much into this, but this is something that I feel keep calling pulled to. And it's funny because this is like the third time in the past week that someone's asked me this question. So, because I'm really interested in going to like trauma informed direction and the
Yes.
attachment style. So, and I don't know much about the attachment style. So, for anyone in here, so please take all of this with a grain of salt, because I'm just kind of thinking about this and talking about it now. But there is an attachment of an anxious style, right?
That's what I would be thinking, is the anxious, like needing that extra security, needing to know that they're not going to be leaving. Is that, now you would be able to tell me because you have a defined spleen. Have you ever felt anxious attachment style, or do you feel like you're the one that experiences it from the other person because you have a defined spleen?
But see, like, so honestly, like when I think of the attachments, I feel like I relate to a lot. It's anxious, fearful, dismissive, and secure. You either are secure, you're
Okay.
dismissive, fearful, and anxious. So me, fearful would come from an undefined spleen, right? If you have a very fearful
Yeah.
attachment, maybe and then when I was thinking about anxious, because for me, like I was always anxious when my mom would come home. I was anxious. Was my dad coming home? Was my dad going to steal something? Was my dad doing this? Like I was
Wow.
super anxious throughout my entire relationship with my parents. I have an
Yeah.
undefined solar plexus. Is that related because of the emotional energy that I'm picking up from my environment? Is that also attached to this anxious attachment style? If I had an emotional wave, would I have done an anxious attachment, or could I have done a different one?
And do you have the hanging gate 35?
Yep.
So the other side is the gate 36, which is nervousness. So I think you're 100% spot on. So and it's crisis, emotional crisis, and nervousness.
Yep.
So you would be pressured for that emotional crisis, nervous energy, anxious energy coming in and defining you at times. So I wonder if someone in your household had the gate 36 out of alignment, where they constantly were causing emotional crisis, anxiousness, nervousness, making everyone on edge for their emotional reactions.
Yeah, or even if they didn't have that gate, how I was conditioned with that gate being open, because my gate
Yeah.
35 is always looking for gate 36. So whether they had it or not,
Yeah.
just because that was the environment and that's the gate that I'm always kind of looking to connect to, that would make a lot of sense.
So attachment styles, do you think that means that what we don't have defined, we're attached to?
I don't know. I don't know. That's such a great question.
Because I feel like my attachment style would for sure be someone with a defined spleen, and looking back over what made me feel best would have been like a defined spleen, defined ego. None of those I have. The sacral wasn't something I would have been attached to. Never was. It was always projector, defined ego. Something I'm not. So I'm wondering if that's what attachment styles is just needing to be clung onto the not self, the defined energies around you that aren't yourself.
I wonder what a dismissive attachment style. Because if we're thinking about fearful, right? Fearful kind of
Yeah.
goes with that spleen, and then anxious could potentially go with that solar plexus. I wonder where dismissive could fall under.
Solar plexus too, in my opinion, because avoiding confrontation if it's open. So dismissive attachment style to me would be someone with an open emotional system that is avoiding confrontation, avoiding dealing with the problems at hand, would rather take space immediately than fix the thing, maybe. Um
Hmm. Well,
maybe.
yeah. What's really interesting is I would like to really ask my partner, because I'm sure she has an attachment style, and she's defined in her solar plexus and she's defined in her spleen. So I would be really curious to see where her attachment maybe comes through in her chart, because she has gate 36, which is why we connect so really well. Like maybe
Okay.
her 36 has been conditioned, which is where maybe it's getting down to like almost the gates. But I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know.
I have someone that says that they have an undefined G center, and it always made them feel best around people who have it defined. And that I've found that to be true for myself too, is that I feel very much whole and like I know myself. And especially if I'm in a relationship with someone who defines my G center through an electromagnetic it's like, oh, we have an identity together. We make this whole new identity up together. And so I bet a huge attachment style would be connected to that G center for sure, of like needing to know that the love is still there, needing to know what direction the love is headed in,
Mm.
constantly needing that reassurance that they're in identity, that they have an identity together, maybe. For me, that's what's come up. I have an undefined G2 Olive, so I definitely resonate with feeling really good around people who have it defined or that electromagnetic is there.
Yeah, yeah, I'm really drawn to those who have it defined G center.
Yeah,
I'm like, where are we
especially
going?
artists
What are
and
we doing?
stuff.
Show me where we're going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It feels super good to have a defined G center around, or, yeah, just anybody with a defined G center, a defined will. Those are my favorite, and defined spleen are probably my favorite. Oh, and define, I mean, just anything. Define emotional. When someone is healthy in their emotional wave, it's the most attractive thing to me, and they have a defined emotional center. It feels so good to be around someone with a defined emotional center that's like healthy and there's that they just know themselves. They know their waves. They let themselves process things. They're like, it's just the best feeling.
Yeah, because it's so warm. It's
Yeah.
so seductive. It's so
Yeah.
inviting. And for those of us who don't have it consistently, when we get around it, because it's rare to find somebody who's in
Yeah.
balance with that. Somebody, it's rare to have somebody
Yeah.
in control and to know their emotional wave. So to get around that, it's like, you feel nice. You feel
Yeah.
good. This feels good.
Yeah. Yeah. And then when they're just letting themselves experience their highs and experience their lows, but they know that it's them and they're not like making anybody else at fault for it. Like it's just their emotional motor. It's just a beautiful thing to be around. It really is. It feels so good.
Somebody asked, is that why I feel crazy? Because I have nothing defined below my throat. Potentially. I mean, if you have a lot of openness, Marisha has a lot of openness in her chart. I have a lot of openness in my chart. So, speaking from my own personal experience, I mean, understanding again my openness in my chart has completely changed my life. Like, because we're picking up so much. We are, and especially as a projector whose aura is absorbing, like, to know that I, one, can't shut that off, to know that not only is my aura picking this up, my centers are also picking this stuff up, knowing that I'm amplifying this energy. Like, it truly was a game changer in the way that I approach conversations, in the way that I respond to conversations rather than react. I was very reactive in my younger days because of how much shit that I was picking
Hmm.
up, and how so defensive I was, because I didn't, what is all this stuff that's going on? Like, I just did not understand. But now I'm just like, oh. And especially finding out I'm a third line, right? Like a three
Mm.
five, like the biggest weight has just been lifted off my shoulders to know that, yeah, I'm going to make mistakes. I am probably not going to get it right the first time. Like, this is all part of the process, has been the biggest shift for my mind for sure.
Yeah. And I have someone that just asked if having the both head and ajna defined, if that's significant, and they feel like most people don't. It was just super interesting you asked that, Olive, because we're planning on doing these lives every single Tuesday, and next Tuesday is all going to be about the head and the ajna center if people are interested in that. And so since you're already saying that, I feel like there's already that interest there and excitement there, because it is a lot of people don't have that, and that means that you constantly have mental chatter going on all the time. You're channeling, and if you're a split definition, that means that a lot of your decisions are going to be pressured to be made from that mental definition, but truly your decision making is not in that mental definition, but it's constantly on. And so next week we are planning on talking about the centers and just going on from there and trying to do this weekly for a while.
Yeah,
Oh
absolutely.
yeah, Olive's a triple split with that defined head and ajna. So that's a lot of mental definition and that need to allow yourself to be able to make decisions without the mental definition coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Marisha,
Yeah.
do you have any final comments or questions?
No, and I feel like that was such a good last comment that she mentioned the head and ashna because that's what we're planning on talking about next week, starting from there, going through the gates. So your gate's going to be talked about next week. We're going to talk about your gates. We may even go through the lines if we have time. We may just do an hour like we did this time, hour 15, hour 20. But we're going to talk about the head and ashna, and anybody who has anything there, even if you don't, it's going to be helpful information.
Yeah, I know you can't see the comments over here, but everyone really, really appreciates this. They think we work well together. This was absolutely great. Everyone's loving the learning and loving the intuitive conversations that we're having. So, for those of you that are enjoying this, like Marisha said, every Tuesday at 7, we're going to hop on here. We're going to create those live events so that you can register if you want to remember to come back on here and see. And we may post this. I'm really going to download this to see kind of
Yes.
what that process looks like. And I believe I'm going to put this on YouTube because some of you were asking about hearing our story and hearing how that was coming out. And I feel like a lot of great information came through on this live today. So I'm also going to, yes, 7 Central Standard Time. And so I'm also going to take these live videos and put them on my YouTube channel to help keep this information out there and flowing as well.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, I'll just like to pull a card to end our session or end our live, a human design card. Do you have this deck?
I have the other one. I have the first one that you
Okay.
got, I think, with Karen Curry.
Karen Curry. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So, this is my human design deck. I'm gonna pull a card for the collective. I've got mainly collective circuitry energy, guys. So, a lot of my sharings are for the collective. Oh, the gate 45. So here
Oh,
we
look
go.
at
My
that.
vocation and my sun sign gathering together. So the message really is about gathering together and being able to collaborate with your like-minded people, being able to enjoy the resources that come in from collaboration too. And so that's such an exciting gate to leave on. I love that.
Yeah, what's really interesting is I have this tattoo, and it's hard to kind of see, but it's a hammer going
Yes,
against iron, and it represents iron sharpens iron. And I believe
I
working with
say that.
individuals that are going to make me better. So that's a dope card to end this on too.
I say that all the time. Iron sharpens iron. Like I literally say that all the time. It's my favorite Bible verse. I love that, and I've seen that tattoo before, and it always stands out to me because it's just like it's absolutely something everyone should live by. Gather together and let iron sharpen iron. This is so
Yeah,
fun.
this was
Thank
fun.
you for letting me be a part of it.
Thank you for joining me. Thank you for inviting me. And thank you for doing this. And for those of you that are also still on here, Marisha and I are creating something very interesting that will be rolling out very soon. So that's what these lives are introducing and leading up into something very, very awesome and very, yeah, that's all the information I'm going to give you guys right now.
Yeah,
So,
resourceful. It's going to be
resourceful.
super, it's going to be packed with resources. If you're trying to learn human design, if you're trying to incorporate it in your business, maybe even teach it, maybe just learn about yourself, there's going to be something for you from us that we're putting together. Everything that we find resourceful for our own journey, we're going to put it in this. And intentionally make it to where it brings you that those resources in your life as well, and where you can start to collaborate with people and link up with your soul family, because that's what this is about, and thrive in your business, thrive in your soul-based business, because the future really is people working in their with their souls, working for themselves and not having to be stuck in anything that depletes them. And that's what this is intentionally going to be for.
Sorry, I'm just enjoying this beautiful sunset.
It's so nice over there.
You can see this, and then like there's this pink. Oh, you can't see nothing. If I go down, if I go up, nothing. There, ooh,
Oh
it's so
wow.
pretty. It's so pretty over here right now. The synchronicity. Someone has said the
Love it.
synchronicity is awesome right now, and I was like, yes, I totally agree.
Yeah, third line adventures is I love that you guys are on an RV adventure constantly because it's just the third line life. I love it.
Yeah, we're going to look. So we rented because we live in an RV. So we rented and we don't drive anywhere. We're saving up to get a truck. We're switching RVs. We were in a motorhome, but we're buying a fifth wheel. If anyone would like to know why, I'll totally explain all my trial and errors with this freaking RV. but we're renting a Tesla. We're going to act all rich and we're going to go look at RVs tomorrow. We're not going to buy one, but we're just going to drive around. I'm not going to use my hands. Look, Mom, no hands. It's going to be so fucking fun. I'm excited.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
That's so fun. Yeah, revel in that successful feeling when you're in that Tesla.
Right?
This is
Absolutely.
the future. Use that cognition.
Yeah. Uh,
Well,
all right, you guys. Marisha, do you have any final comments, babe?
no, thank you, and thank your followers too. I'm so thankful for you guys that you got something from this, that you're excited to
Yeah,
learn about human design.
if you guys connected with Marisha or really enjoyed the way that she spoke and taught about things, she's really knowledgeable, especially in the lines and being able to make connections. Like she made a connection with me that I didn't even make a connection about myself. So Marisha is very, very powerful in the way she's able to connect those dots. So if you related or resonated with what she said, please give her a follow and show her some love. And she'll appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, to be recognized by a projector is gold. It's gold. I wish I could. I'm glad this is recorded because I'm gonna listen to that again.
Yeah, I'm gonna listen back to this too. All
Oh,
right. So what I'll
thank
do, I don't
you.
know. Can you download it on your end?
Yes, I will be downloading it and I'm gonna post it to my YouTube as well.
Okay. And if you have any issues downloading it, just let me know and I can send you mine as well.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your evening, everyone.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.